The emergency beacon screamed across the void of space, carrying with it the desperation of an empire that had never known fear. The Velkrin had ruled their sector for 300 cycles, expanding through intimidation and overwhelming force. They were proud, strong, and utterly confident in their place among the stars. Now that confidence had shattered like glass. Ambassador Thelnara stood before the holographic display in the council chamber, her 4 eyes narrowing as she studied the transmission. The Velkrin representative, a scarred warrior named Gorath, trembled as he spoke. His voice cracked with something Thelnara had never heard from his species before, genuine terror. "They do not stop," Gorath said, his clawed hands shaking. "We offered surrender 3 times. They ignored us. They just keep coming, wave after wave. Like a tide of death. These humans, they fight like demons. They take injuries that would kill any civilized species, and they just keep fighting. We need the Council's protection. We need intervention now." Fleet Commander Zix, a towering insectoid warrior from the Kresh Dominion, clicked his mandibles in skepticism. "The Velkrin Empire calls for help? You who conquered the Methril colonies without mercy? You who bombed the Tarnex homeworld into submission? What could possibly frighten you?" Gorath's eyes went wide. "These are not warriors. They are monsters. They came from a death world, a place of constant violence and survival. They should be primitive, but they fight with technology and tactics we cannot match. Every ship we destroy, 2 more appear. Every soldier we kill, 10 more take their place. They are endless." Thelnara pulled up the records of first contact. The planet was listed as Earth, a small blue world in an unremarkable system. The preliminary scans had classified it as a Class 12 death world, one of the most hostile environments known to the galaxy. Gravity higher than standard, deadly predators, extreme weather, and diseases that would kill most species within hours. The fact that intelligent life had evolved there at all was remarkable. That they had reached space was unprecedented. "According to our database," Thelnara said carefully, "your empire made first contact with this species 6 standard months ago. You were supposed to follow protocol and establish diplomatic relations. What happened?" Gorath looked away. "They were weak. Soft creatures, fragile and slow. We saw their cities, their peaceful societies. We believed they would be easy to control. We needed the resources from their system. The mining rights alone would have powered our expansion for decades." "So you attacked them," Zix stated flatly. "We established our presence," Gorath corrected, though his voice lacked conviction. "We landed on one of their colony worlds, a small settlement, barely 5,000 inhabitants. We informed them that the Velkrin Empire was claiming the system. They refused. They said we had no right. Can you imagine? These primitives telling us what we could and could not do?" Thelnara felt a cold sensation in her chest. "What did you do to that colony?" Silence filled the chamber. Gorath would not meet her eyes. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. "We made an example. We destroyed it from orbit. We thought it would show them our strength. We thought they would understand their place." "You murdered 5,000 civilians," Zix said, his voice hard as stone. "They were obstacles," Gorath protested weakly. "In war, there are always casualties. How were we supposed to know they would react like this? Any reasonable species would have surrendered after seeing our military might. Instead, these humans declared war, not just on our fleet, but on our entire empire. They called it a crime. They called us murderers." Thelnara accessed the battle reports. The data made her blood run cold. The human fleet had appeared within weeks of the colony's destruction. They had not come with demands or negotiations. They had come with a simple message broadcast in perfect Velkrin language. "You have committed an act of genocide against humanity. You will face justice." The first battle had been a massacre, but not in the way anyone expected. The Velkrin had 3 battle cruisers, 12 destroyers, and 50 support craft. The humans had sent 20 ships, smaller and apparently less advanced. The Velkrin had been confident of victory. They had lost everything. The human ships moved like nothing the Velkrin had encountered before. They did not follow standard battle formations or tactics. They used the debris field from destroyed ships as cover. They fired weapons that were primitive kinetic rounds, simple metal projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds, but they were devastatingly effective. Shields designed to stop energy weapons did nothing against solid matter traveling at relativistic speeds. More disturbing were the reports of boarding actions. Human soldiers, wearing sealed suits of armor, had breached Velkrin ships and fought hand-to-hand. They were smaller than Velkrin warriors, but faster, more aggressive, and seemingly immune to pain. One report described a human soldier who continued fighting after losing an arm, using their remaining limb to beat a Velkrin to death with their own helmet. "They are not natural," Gorath whispered. "Nothing from a civilized world fights like that. They are death incarnate." Thelnara looked at the star maps. The Velkrin Empire was losing system after system. The humans were not conquering. They were systematically dismantling every military asset the Velkrin possessed. Shipyards, weapons platforms, fleet bases, all were being destroyed with surgical precision. And according to the reports, the humans had sent formal legal documents with every attack, listing the crimes of the Velkrin Empire and the corresponding punishment being delivered. "Council," Thelnara said slowly, "I believe we need to investigate this situation personally. Something is very wrong here, and I do not think the Velkrin are telling us the whole truth." Zix nodded agreement. "I will prepare an observation fleet. We need to see these humans for ourselves." As the council session ended, Thelnara stared at the image of Earth on her display. A beautiful blue world, covered in water and green continents. It looked so peaceful. How could such a place produce warriors capable of terrifying the Velkrin? She was about to find out, and something told her the truth would change everything the galaxy thought it knew about death worlds and the species that came from them. The Council observation fleet arrived at the Velkrin border 3 days later, and immediately Thelnara knew they had entered a war zone unlike any she had witnessed before. The space around them was filled with debris. Broken ships, destroyed stations, and the frozen bodies of Velkrin soldiers drifted in the endless dark. But there was something odd about the destruction. It was precise, almost surgical. "Commander Zix," she said through the communication link, "are you seeing this?" Zix's ship, a massive dreadnought that served as the fleet's protection, had better sensors than her diplomatic vessel. "I am. The destruction pattern is highly organized. These were not random attacks. Every target was military. I am detecting no damage to civilian structures on the nearby planets." That was unexpected. In every war Thelnara had studied, civilian casualties were inevitable, often significant. Yet the humans seemed to be deliberately avoiding non-military targets. She pulled up the tactical data and felt her confusion deepen. The Velkrin had 17 military installations in this sector. All 17 had been destroyed or captured. The civilian population centers, all 23 of them, were completely untouched. "I am receiving a transmission," one of her crew members announced. "It is from a Velkrin civilian station. They are asking us to witness something." The holographic display flickered to life, showing a Velkrin civilian administrator. The man looked exhausted but not frightened. "Council representatives, thank the stars you have come. We need you to see the truth. The military has been lying to everyone about what is happening here." "Explain," Thelnara commanded. The administrator gestured and new data flooded their systems. "The humans have been sending us messages. Not threats, but legal documents. They have documented every crime the Empire committed. The colony they destroyed, The humans have the names of all 5,000 victims. They have recordings of the attack. They have proof that our military ignored multiple requests for peaceful negotiation. Zix leaned forward in his command chair. They kept records. Extensive records, the administrator confirmed. Every human ship that has attacked us has broadcast the same thing. Evidence of our crimes and a detailed explanation of their response. They call it proportional justice. For every innocent life we took, they are destroying one military target. They are not here to conquer us. They are here to punish our leadership for what they call crimes against humanity. Thelnara felt a chill run through her body. This was not a primitive species lashing out in rage. This was something far more disturbing. A civilization that treated war as a legal proceeding, complete with evidence and documented judgments. "Show me these transmissions," she demanded. The data that came through was staggering. The humans had compiled what they called a war crimes tribunal record. It listed every action the Velcrin military had taken, cross-referenced with something the humans called interstellar law that they had apparently derived independently. The destruction of the colony was listed as genocide. The refusal to allow diplomatic communication was listed as a violation of sapient rights. The attempted intimidation of Earth was listed as unlawful aggression. For each crime, there was a corresponding punishment being delivered. The battlecruiser that had fired on the colony had been hunted down and destroyed, its crew given the chance to surrender first. They had refused, and the humans had obliged them. The admiral who gave the order to attack had been specifically targeted, his flagship crippled and boarded. He had been taken alive and was being held for trial. "This is insane," Zix muttered. "They are treating war like a court proceeding." "Because that is exactly what they are doing," Thelnara realized. "They are not fighting a war. They are executing a judgment." As if summoned by her words, the sensors detected multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Human vessels, 20 of them, moving in formation toward a Velcrin military outpost on the edge of the system. The Council fleet watched in silence as the humans broadcast their message. The voice was calm, almost gentle. It spoke in perfect Velcrin. "Velcrin Military Installation Gamma 7. You are hereby notified of the following charges: conspiracy to commit genocide, attempted deployment of orbital bombardment weapons against civilian targets, and refusal to accept terms of surrender. You have 1 standard hour to evacuate all personnel. After that time, this installation will be destroyed." "They are giving them a chance to leave," one of Thelnara's officers whispered in disbelief. They watched as the Velcrin installation responded with weapons fire, launching missiles and energy beams at the human ships. The humans did not immediately return fire. Instead, they deployed defensive measures, intercepting the attacks with point defense systems and maneuvering with remarkable agility. Their ships moved like living things, not following predictable patterns, but adapting in real time to threats. Only after the hour had passed did the humans attack. What followed was a masterclass in precision warfare. The human ships closed in, their weapons targeting specific sections of the installation. They destroyed weapons systems, power generators, and communication arrays. Within 15 minutes, the installation was a floating wreck, but Thelnara's sensors detected life signs inside. The humans had deliberately avoided targeting the crew sections. A new message came from the human fleet. "All personnel are to evacuate via escape pods. You will be treated in accordance with standard prisoner of war protocols. Resistance is futile and will be met with appropriate force." Zix was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, and his voice carried a tone Thelnara had never heard from the battle-hardened commander before. Respect mixed with fear. "They could have destroyed that installation in seconds. They have the firepower, but they gave them a chance. They warned them. They avoided killing unless necessary. And yet," Thelnara added quietly, "they are absolutely unstoppable. Look at the battle efficiency. They took no damage. They executed their attack with perfect precision. These are not lucky primitives. These are master warriors who choose mercy when possible, but are completely capable of delivering death when required. The civilian administrator's voice came through again. Now do you understand? The Empire's leadership has been telling everyone that humans are mindless savages. But they are the opposite. They are calculating, methodical, and they follow rules even in war. Rules we broke, rules we laughed at when we attacked their colony. Thelnara made a decision. I need to speak with them. Arrange a communication channel with the human fleet. It took less than an hour. The humans, it seemed, had been expecting the council to make contact. The face that appeared on her display was striking, a human female, dark-skinned with sharp eyes that seemed to see through deception. She wore a military uniform, and her expression was neutral but not hostile. I am Admiral Keita Okafor, commanding officer of the Human Defense Fleet, 3rd Expeditionary Group. You must be Ambassador Thelnara of the Galactic Council. I have read your file. You have a reputation for fairness. Admiral, Thelnara began carefully, the Velcrin Empire has requested council intervention. They claim you are committing acts of aggression against them. Admiral Okafor's expression did not change, but something flickered in her eyes. It might have been anger, or it might have been disappointment. Ambassador, I am transmitting to you a complete record of all interactions between humanity and the Velcrin Empire. You will find documentation of their initial contact, their refusal of diplomatic channels, their unprovoked attack on a civilian colony, and every action we have taken in response. We are not the aggressors. We are delivering justice. The data package that arrived was enormous. Thelnara knew it would take days to review completely, but she opened the summary file. What she saw there made her realize that everything was about to change. The galaxy had just encountered a species that did not fit any known category. The humans were not conquerors, not merchants, not explorers in the traditional sense. They were something the galaxy had never seen before, Deathworlders who had learned to channel their survival instincts into a code of law and justice that they would enforce with terrifying efficiency. Admiral, Thelnara said slowly, I need to understand your intentions. What is your goal here? Admiral Okafor's answer was simple and absolute. To ensure that no species ever thinks they can attack humanity without consequences. To teach the Velcrin that genocide has a price, and to show the galaxy that we are not prey. We are not victims. We are humanity, and we remember our dead. The meeting took place aboard a neutral station at the edge of Velcrin space. Thelnara had insisted on a face-to-face meeting, and Admiral Okafor had agreed without hesitation. When the human delegation arrived, Thelnara was struck by how ordinary they appeared. They were not massive warriors or terrifying monsters. They were simply people, walking with quiet confidence and carrying themselves with military discipline. Admiral Okafor entered the conference room flanked by 2 other humans. One was introduced as Captain James Rodriguez, a tactical officer. The other was Dr. Sarah Chen, a specialist in interstellar law. They took their seats across from the council representatives with practiced ease. Thank you for agreeing to meet, Thelnara began. The council needs to understand your position and your intentions. The Velcrin Empire is requesting our intervention to stop your military campaign. Admiral Okafor nodded and gestured to Dr. Chen, who produced a data tablet. Before we discuss anything else, I want you to have this. She slid the tablet across the table. That is a complete legal brief, 2,347 pages, documenting every violation of interstellar law committed by the Velcrin Empire against humanity. It includes evidence, witness testimony, and our legal analysis. Zix picked up the tablet, his compound eyes scanning the document. You compiled this during a war? We compiled this before the war, Captain Rodriguez corrected. We gave the Velcrin 3 opportunities to respond to these charges through diplomatic channels. They ignored all 3 attempts. Under the legal framework we operate within, their refusal to engage in peaceful resolution, combined with their continued military presence in our space, constituted an ongoing threat. We responded accordingly. Thelnara felt her mind reeling. You developed a system of interstellar law independently, without contact with the galactic community? Dr. Chen smiled slightly. Ambassador, humans have been thinking about space law since before we left our own planet. When we reached the stars and found we were not alone, we simply applied the principles we had already developed. The right to self-defense, the prohibition against genocide, the requirement for proportional response to aggression. These are not complex ideas. They are fundamental to any civilization that values justice. But you are enforcing these laws through military force, Thelnara pointed out. Because the Velkrin left us no choice, Admiral Okafor said, her voice hardening. They killed 5,000 of our people, men, women, and children who were living peaceful lives on a colony world. They destroyed homes, schools, hospitals, and when we asked why, their response was that we were too weak to matter. They thought Deathworlders would be easy targets because we looked soft compared to them. She stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. Ambassador, let me tell you about humanity. We come from a planet that has tried to kill us since the day our species evolved. Predators, diseases, natural disasters, ice ages, droughts, you name it. Earth has thrown everything at us, and we survived. Not because we are the strongest or the fastest. We survived because we learned to work together. We learned to plan. We learned to think. Captain Rodriguez continued the explanation. On Earth, we developed something called the doctrine of overwhelming response. If someone attacks our civilians, we do not just defend. We eliminate the threat completely. We do not do this out of cruelty. We do it because we learned, through thousands of years of history, that half measures only lead to more death. If you start a war with humanity, we will finish it, completely and permanently. Zix set down the tablet. You are saying you will destroy the Velkrin Empire. No, Admiral Okafor turned back to face them. We are saying we will destroy their ability to threaten us or anyone else ever again. There is a difference. We are not targeting civilians. We are not bombing cities. We are systematically dismantling their military infrastructure. Every weapons platform, every shipyard, every military base. When we are done, the Velkrin will have no capacity to wage war. And their leadership? Thelnara asked quietly. Will face trial for war crimes, Dr. Chen stated firmly. We have enough evidence to prosecute every member of their military command for genocide. If found guilty, they will be punished according to the severity of their crimes. Thelnara exchanged a glance with Zix. The insectoid commander's mandibles clicked nervously. Admiral, you must understand how this appears to the rest of the galaxy. A previously unknown species appears, demonstrates overwhelming military power, and begins dismantling an established empire. Many will see this as a threat. Then they can choose to see us as we actually are, Admiral Okafor said calmly. We did not seek this conflict. We wanted peaceful contact. We sent diplomatic messages that were ignored. We offered trade agreements that were dismissed. We tried, Ambassador. We tried everything peaceful. And we were answered with the murder of 5,000 innocent people. She pulled up a holographic display. I want to show you something. This is footage from the colony. Not sanitized, not edited. This is what the Velkrin did. Thelnara wanted to look away but forced herself to watch. The images were horrific. Orbital strikes turning buildings to ash, people running, trying to escape, and being cut down by the explosions, children crying for parents who would never answer. The footage lasted less than 5 minutes, but it felt like an eternity. When it ended, Admiral Okafor spoke again, and her voice carried the weight of profound sorrow mixed with iron determination. Every human in our fleet has watched this. Every soldier, every pilot, every officer. We carry their names with us. We remember them. And we will ensure that their deaths mean something. That the species who did this learns that humanity is not prey, that Deathworlders are not victims. You want revenge, Zix said. No. We want justice. Revenge is emotional. Justice is methodical. We documented everything. We followed our laws, and the laws we believe should govern all civilized species. We gave warnings. We offered surrender. And when the Velkrin continued to fight, we responded with exactly the level of force necessary to achieve our objectives. Thelnara noticed something in the Admiral's words. You said necessary force. You could destroy them completely, could you not? Admiral Okafor met her eyes. Yes. We could turn their homeworld into a lifeless rock. We have the weapons. But that is not justice. That is genocide, and we do not commit genocide. We stop it. A message alert interrupted the meeting. One of Zix's officers appeared on a communication screen looking shaken. Commander, you need to see this. The humans just engaged a Velkrin fortress world. You need to see how they fight. The holographic display changed to show a live feed from the battle. Thelnara watched in stunned silence as human ships moved through space with impossible grace. They were outnumbered 3-1, but it did not matter. The Velkrin ships fired in standard patterns, predictable and by the book. The human ships moved like dancers, like artists, flowing around enemy fire and striking with precision that defied belief. A Velkrin battlecruiser exploded, its reactor breached by a kinetic round that had punched through its shields like they did not exist. Another ship tried to ram a human vessel, but the smaller ship simply slid out of the way at the last second, then fired a spread of missiles into the battlecruiser's engines. The larger ship spun out of control, disabled, but not destroyed. They are not even trying to kill everyone, Zix whispered. They are disabling ships when possible, destroying them when necessary. This level of precision, this control in combat, I have never seen anything like it. That is because you have never fought a species from a death world, Captain Rodriguez said quietly. Every human grows up learning to assess threats, to react instantly, to make life or death decisions in fractions of a second. It is not training. It is instinct born from millions of years of survival. We do not think about these things. We just do them. The battle ended within an hour. The Velkrin fortress world's orbital defenses were destroyed. The military bases on the surface were bombarded with precision strikes, and then the human fleet simply left. They did not occupy the planet. They did not demand surrender from the civilian population. They completed their objective and moved on. Ambassador, Admiral Okafor said, pulling Thelnara's attention back to the meeting. I am going to be very clear with you. We did not want this war. But now that it has started, we will see it through to the end. The Velkrin leadership will face justice. Their military will be dismantled. And when it is over, we will offer them a choice. Rebuild as a peaceful civilization under our guidance, or remain isolated and powerless, but we will not stop until the threat they represent is completely neutralized. She leaned forward. Now the Council must make a choice. You can recognize our right to defend ourselves and stay neutral, or you can side with a genocidal empire. Choose wisely, because if you choose the latter, we will add your actions to our legal record and respond accordingly. We do not want more enemies, but we will not allow anyone to stop us from seeking justice for our dead. Thelnara felt the weight of the moment. The galaxy was about to change. Humanity had arrived, and they had brought with them a doctrine that was both terrifying and admirable. They were warriors who followed rules, death-worlders who valued law, and victims who refused to ever be victims again. I will present your position to the Council, she said carefully. But I must ask, what happens after the war? What will you do when the Velkrin are defeated? Admiral Okafor smiled, and for the first time, Thelnara saw something other than stern determination in the human's face. She saw hope. We help them rebuild. We teach them. We show them that there is a better way, because that is what we do. We survive. We fight when we must, and then we build something better from the ashes. That is humanity. The Velkrin Emperor's throne room was a monument to arrogance. Towering statues of past conquerors lined the walls, and the ceiling was painted with scenes of victory and dominance. Emperor Valth stood before his war council, his scales gleaming in the artificial light, and his eyes burned with fury. "They are primitives!" he roared, slamming his fist on the war table. "How can we be losing to a species that still uses kinetic weapons? Where is our pride? Where is our strength?" General Cross, the highest-ranking military officer who remained alive, spoke carefully. "Your Majesty, the humans are not primitives. They are tactically superior to us. Every engagement shows they have centuries of military experience. They fight like they have been at war their entire existence. Because they come from a death world." Valth spat. "They are animals who learn to use tools. Nothing more." "Your Majesty," another advisor spoke up, a scientist named Dr. Velk. "Perhaps we should consider accepting their terms. They have offered to cease hostilities if we surrender our military leadership for trial. We could negotiate." Emperor Valth's eyes widened in rage. "Surrender? You suggest that I, Emperor of the Velkrin, bow before these creatures? Never. I will see their world burn before I accept defeat from such inferior beings." He turned to his head of military research. "What is the status of Project Crimson Sky?" The room went silent. Dr. Velk's face paled. "Your Majesty, that project was supposed to be theoretical only. It was never meant to be actually deployed. I did not ask for your opinion on its use. I asked for its status." The research head swallowed hard. "It is complete. The biological weapon is loaded on a stealth ship. It is designed to target human genetics specifically. If deployed on their homeworld, it would kill 90% of their population within weeks. But, Your Majesty, this would be genocide. The Council would never forgive such an act." "The Council is toothless," Valth snarled. "They talk and debate while we act. By the time they decide to do anything, the humans will be extinct and we will be safe. Deploy the weapon immediately." "Your Majesty, please reconsider," General Cross pleaded. "The humans have shown remarkable intelligence capabilities. They may intercept the weapon, and if they do, their response will be devastating. Then we will face them. But I will not surrender to prey animals. Either they die or we die. There is no middle ground. Not anymore." The decision was made. Within hours, a Velkrin stealth ship left the Imperial shipyard, carrying in its hold the most terrible weapon the Empire had ever created. Its destination was Earth, the blue world that had spawned the creatures who dared to challenge Velkrin supremacy. Admiral Okafor was reviewing tactical reports when the alert came through. Her face went from calm to ice-cold fury in an instant. "Captain Rodriguez, confirm that report immediately." Rodriguez worked his console, his fingers flying over the controls. "Confirmed, Admiral. Our intelligence network inside the Velkrin Empire just transmitted a priority alert. The Emperor has authorized deployment of a biological weapon targeting human genetics. The delivery vehicle launched 43 minutes ago. Current trajectory indicates Earth as the target." The bridge went silent. Every human present understood what this meant. This was not an attack on a military target. This was attempted genocide against their entire species. "What is the weapon's current position?" Okafor asked, her voice deadly calm. "It is still in Velkrin space, using stealth technology to avoid detection. Our intelligence asset provided us with the access codes to track it. We have 22 hours before it reaches the edge of our defensive perimeter. Contact the fleet. I want every available ship prepared for immediate deployment. Contact Earth Command and inform them of the situation. Full defensive protocols are now active." She paused, then added, and prepare a message for the Galactic Council. They need to know what is about to happen. Thelnara received the message while she was still at the neutral station. Admiral Okafor's face filled her screen, and the human's expression made her blood run cold. Ambassador, I am informing you that the Velkrin Empire has escalated this conflict beyond any acceptable boundary. They have launched a biological weapon targeting Earth itself. This is an attempted genocide of 8 billion human beings. We have intercepted the weapon and neutralized it before it could reach our space, but this action has changed everything. Thelnara felt her heart's hammering. Admiral, what are you going to do? The Velkrin leadership is now considered an existential threat to humanity. We are no longer conducting a limited military campaign. We are implementing what we call the Reckoning Protocol. Every member of the Velkrin government and military command who authorized or supported this attack will be held personally accountable. This is no longer about justice for a colony. This is about the survival of our species. Admiral, please think about this carefully. If you escalate further, they tried to kill every man, woman, and child on our homeworld, Ambassador. There is no escalation beyond that. There is only response. I suggest the Council begin preparing for a very different galaxy, because in 72 hours, the Velkrin Empire as you know it will cease to exist. The communication ended. Thelnara immediately contacted Zix. We need to get to Council space immediately. We need to prepare them for what is coming. What is coming? Zix asked. The full might of humanity, unleashed without restraint. The human response was unlike anything the galaxy had witnessed. Ships that had been held in reserve, weapons that had not been deployed, tactics that had been considered too aggressive, all were now authorized. The human fleet did not attack in waves. They struck everywhere simultaneously. Velkrin military installations across 20 systems found themselves under assault within hours of each other. The humans had been planning this contingency, preparing for the possibility that the Velkrin would force them to total war. Now that preparation paid off in devastating fashion. But the most shocking element was the precision. The humans were not attacking blindly. They had intelligence on every member of the Velkrin leadership. They knew where Emperor Valth was hiding, in a supposedly secret bunker on the Velkrin homeworld. They knew where the generals were. They knew everything. General Cross watched in horror as human ships descended on his command center. They did not bombard it from orbit. Instead, they deployed troops, soldiers in powered armor who breached the facility with frightening efficiency. They fought through the defenses like they had trained for this exact scenario their entire lives. When they reached his command center, Cross expected to be executed. Instead, the lead human removed their helmet, revealing a young woman with hard eyes. General Cross, you are under arrest for war crimes, including conspiracy to commit genocide. You will be taken into custody and held for trial. If you resist, we will use lethal force. If you surrender, you will be treated in accordance with the laws of war. Choose now. Cross dropped his weapon. He was a warrior, but he was not a fool. These humans had given him more mercy than he would have given them. Emperor Valth was not so fortunate. When human forces breached his bunker, he fought. He refused surrender. He called them animals and monsters, even as they systematically disabled his guards and closed in on his position. In the end, he died firing a weapon at soldiers who had given him multiple chances to surrender. Admiral Okafor watched the reports come in from the war room aboard her flagship. 71 hours after the biological weapon was intercepted, the last member of the Velkrin War Council was in custody. The Empire's military leadership was captured or dead. Their weapons were destroyed. Their ships were disabled. It was over. But something unexpected happened. Messages began coming from the Velkrin civilian population. Not messages of defiance, but messages of relief. The common Velkrin people, it turned out, had been lied to. They had been told that humanity was attacking without provocation, that they were monsters seeking to enslave the Empire. The truth, kept hidden by their own government, was now spreading through their networks. A Velcrin civilian leader, a woman named Sarah, who had survived the purges of dissidents under Valth's regime, sent a message directly to Admiral Okafor. "We did not know. They told us you were the enemy. They showed us propaganda. We thought we were being protected. Now we see the truth. Our leadership committed genocide and then tried to cover it with more genocide. We do not ask for mercy because we do not deserve it. But we ask that you judge us as individuals, not as a species. Many of us never wanted this war." Admiral Okafor read the message 3 times. Then she called a staff meeting. "We have won the war," she told her officers. "The Velcrin military is defeated. Their leadership is captured or dead. Now we face a choice. We can continue down the path of vengeance and destroy them completely, or we can remember who we are and what we stand for. Humanity does not commit genocide, even against those who tried to commit it against us. We are better than that. We have to be." Captain Rodriguez spoke up. "What are you proposing?" "Admiral, that we show the galaxy what Deathworlders really are. Not monsters, not conquerors, but survivors who remember mercy even in victory. We end this war not with extermination, but with justice and reconstruction. We give the Velcrin people a chance to build something better from the ashes of their empire." The room was silent for a moment. Then, one by one, her officers nodded agreement. They were warriors, yes, but they were also human, and that meant something more than just the ability to fight. It meant the wisdom to know when to stop. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so crowded. Representatives from 200 species filled the vast space, all of them waiting to hear what the humans would say. Admiral Okafor stood at the center podium, flanked by Captain Rodriguez and Dr. Chen. Behind them, on screens visible to all, were the faces of captured Velcrin leadership. And beside those screens were the names, all 5,000 names of the colonists who had died in the initial attack. Thelnara sat in her position as mediator, watching the human admiral with a mixture of respect and apprehension. The past weeks had changed everything. Humanity had demonstrated military power that rivaled the greatest civilizations in the galaxy. But more importantly, they had shown something else: restraint, mercy, justice. Admiral Okafor began to speak, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. "Esteemed representatives of the Galactic Council, I stand before you today not as a conqueror, but as someone seeking justice for a crime that should never have happened. 73 days ago, the Velcrin Empire attacked a human colony. They killed 5,000 innocent people, men, women, and children who were doing nothing more than trying to build a life among the stars." She gestured to the screens. "These are their names, every single one. We remembered them, we documented them, and we made sure that their deaths would not be meaningless. The Velcrin Empire believed we were weak. They saw that we came from a death world and assumed we would be easy prey. They made a terrible mistake. They confused patience with weakness. They mistook diplomacy for cowardice. They thought that because we sought peace, we were incapable of war." Admiral Okafor's expression hardened. "They were wrong. Humanity knows war. We have fought wars on our own world for thousands of years. We have learned every lesson that blood can teach. And one of the hardest lessons we learned is this: when you must fight, fight with everything you have. Do not stop until the threat is ended. Do not show mercy to those who show none to you." She paused, letting her words sink in. "So when the Velcrin attacked us, we responded with the full measure of our capability. We hunted down their military, we destroyed their weapons, we captured their leadership, and when they tried to commit genocide against our entire species by deploying a biological weapon, we stopped them and we made sure they could never threaten anyone again." Murmurs filled the chamber. Some species looked frightened, others looked impressed. All of them were paying attention. "But," Admiral Okafor continued, raising her voice, "we also learned another lesson. Perhaps the most important lesson, that vengeance is easy. Hatred is simple. Genocide is the path of least resistance when you have power, and we refuse to walk that path. She turned to face the screens showing the Velcrin prisoners. These individuals are guilty of war crimes. They will face trial. If found guilty, they will be punished. But their people, the millions of Velcrin civilians who were lied to and manipulated by their leadership, they are not guilty. They are victims of their own government's arrogance and cruelty. Dr. Chen stepped forward, carrying a data pad. We are presenting to the Council a comprehensive plan for the reconstruction of the Velcrin civilization. The Velcrin Empire will be dissolved, its military will be permanently disbanded, but its people will be helped. We are offering economic aid, educational programs, and assistance in establishing a democratic government. We are offering them a chance to rebuild. The chamber erupted in shocked conversation. Zix stood from his seat. Admiral, you are offering to help the species that tried to exterminate you? This is unprecedented. Yes, Admiral Okafor said simply. It is unprecedented, and that is exactly why we must do it. Because if we simply destroy them, we become no better than they were. If we commit genocide in response to attempted genocide, we prove that Deathworlders are the monsters everyone fears. But if we show mercy, if we offer justice combined with rehabilitation, we show the galaxy something different. We show them what humanity truly is. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from dozens of species. We did not come to the stars to conquer. We came to explore, to learn, to find our place among the civilized species of the galaxy. But we also came with a promise to ourselves and to our people. We will never be victims again. We will defend ourselves and those who cannot defend themselves. We will fight when we must, but we will not become the monsters our enemies believe us to be. Thelnara stood. Admiral, your words are inspiring, but many here will wonder if this is simply a strategy. If you are showing mercy now only to gain political advantage. Admiral Okafor smiled slightly. Ambassador, I could give you a dozen tactical reasons why this is smart policy. I could explain how showing mercy makes us look strong rather than cruel. I could talk about how it is easier to have allies than enemies, but the truth is simpler than that. We are doing this because it is right. Because those 5,000 people we lost would not want their deaths to be the excuse for more death. Because we are human, and being human means we remember mercy even when we have been shown none. Captain Rodriguez activated another display. We have already begun the process. Human engineers are working with Velcrin civilians to rebuild infrastructure. Our medical teams are treating wounded Velcrin soldiers. Our teachers are helping to establish educational systems that teach truth instead of propaganda. This is not a plan for the future. This is happening now. The display showed images that many in the chamber found difficult to process. Human soldiers helping Velcrin civilians clear rubble. Human doctors working alongside Velcrin medical staff. Human children and Velcrin children playing together in a refugee camp. We could have killed them all, Admiral Okafor said quietly. We had the power. We had the justification. We had every reason to turn their home world into a graveyard. But we chose differently. Because that is what Deathworlders do. We survive, we endure, we fight when necessary, and then we build. We always build. Sarah, the Velcrin civilian leader, had been given permission to address the council. She stood now, her scales dull with shame, but her voice clear. The Admiral speaks truth. My people were told lies. We were told the humans attacked us without cause. We were told they were savages who wanted to enslave us. When I saw the evidence of what our leadership actually did, I wanted to die from shame. Her voice broke slightly. But the humans would not let us despair. They came to us not with weapons but with food, with medicine, with tools to rebuild. They treated us like people, not like enemies. They showed us kindness we did not deserve, and they did it while still holding our guilty leadership accountable for their crimes." She turned to face Admiral Okafor. "On behalf of the Velcrin people, I offer something we have no right to ask for: forgiveness. We do not deserve it, but we ask for it anyway. And we promise that we will spend generations proving that your mercy was not misplaced." Admiral Okafor walked to where Sarah stood and offered her hand in the human gesture of greeting. Sarah took it, and cameras captured the moment. A human and a Velcrin, former enemies, standing together. "The war is over," Admiral Okafor announced to the Council. "We are formally requesting that humanity be recognized as a sovereign species with full rights and protections under galactic law. We are also proposing a new framework for dealing with interstellar conflicts, one based on evidence, proportional response, and rehabilitation rather than simple destruction." Thelnara knew this moment would define galactic history. She looked around the chamber and saw the same realization on the faces of her fellow council members. Humanity had arrived, and they had brought with them ideas that challenged everything the galaxy thought it knew about power and justice. "The Council will debate your proposals," Thelnara said formally, "but I believe I speak for many when I say that humanity has earned its place among the stars, not through conquest, but through demonstrating something we rarely see: the wisdom to know when to stop fighting." Admiral Okafor nodded. "That is all we ask. Judge us by our actions, not by our appearance or our origin. We are Deathworlders, yes, but that does not make us monsters. It makes us survivors. And survivors know the value of life, even the lives of their enemies." The formal proceedings continued for hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. Humanity was granted full recognition. The Velcrin Empire was officially dissolved and replaced with the Velcrin Federation, a democratic government established with human guidance, but led by Velcrin civilians. The war criminals were tried, and those found guilty received sentences ranging from imprisonment to, in the most extreme cases, execution. But the part that shocked the galaxy most was what happened next. Human ships did not leave Velcrin space. They stayed. They helped. Engineers rebuilt cities. Doctors trained Velcrin medical staff. Teachers helped establish schools. It was not occupation. It was reconstruction. Humanity had meant what they said. 5 years later, Thelnara visited the first joint human-Velcrin colony. She walked through streets where both species lived and worked together. She watched children of both species playing in parks that had been built by combined effort. She met with Sarah, who was now the elected leader of the Velcrin Federation. "We were told Deathworlders would be our doom," Sarah said as they watched the children play. "Our leadership saw your strength and feared you, but they were looking at the wrong thing. Your strength is not what makes you dangerous. Your compassion is what makes you unstoppable. Because now, instead of one enemy, you have an ally. Instead of a destroyed empire, you have a partner. You won the war, but more importantly, you won the peace." Admiral Okafor, who had retired from military service and now served as a diplomat, joined them. She had gray in her hair now and lines around her eyes from years of difficult work. But she smiled as she watched the children. "That was always the point," she said quietly. "We did not fight to destroy. We fought to protect. And when the fighting was done, we did what humans have always done. We built something better from the ashes." Zix, who had become a close friend of both leaders, clicked his mandibles in what his species considered a laugh. The galaxy was terrified of Deathworlders. They thought you would be conquerors, destroying everything in your path. Instead, you became the most aggressive peacekeepers in history. You fight like demons when threatened, but you rebuild like angels when the danger has passed. Admiral Okafor shrugged. "We are human. We contain multitudes. We can be savage and gentle, fierce and kind, warriors and healers. We are products of a world that tried to kill us, so we learned to value life. We are Deathworlders, yes, but that means we understand death well enough to know how precious life truly is. A small Velcrin child ran up to them, followed by a human child about the same age. They were laughing, playing some game only children understood. The Velcrin child tugged on Sarah's garment. "Is it true?" the child asked. "My teacher said humans used to be scary." Sarah knelt down and smiled. "Humans are still scary when they need to be, but they are also kind when they can be. That is what makes them special. They know when to be which." The human child grinned. "My dad says we remember our dead, but we build for the living. I do not really understand what that means." Admiral Okafor knelt beside Sarah. "It means we never forget the people who came before us. We honor them by making sure others do not suffer the way they did. We fight when we must, but we always try to build something better afterward. That is humanity's promise." The children nodded like they understood, though they probably did not, and ran off to continue their game. The adults watched them go, 3 leaders from 2 species that had been enemies, now watching the next generation grow up in peace. "They will tell stories about us," Thelnara said softly. "About the war, about the peace that followed. What do you want those stories to say?" Admiral Okafor thought for a moment, then smiled. "I want them to say that humans came to the stars not as conquerors, but as people. That we were dangerous when threatened, but merciful when we could be. That we remembered our dead by making sure the living had a future. And most importantly, I want them to say that Deathworlders are not monsters. We are survivors. And we know that the best way to survive is to build a galaxy where everyone can thrive." She looked up at the sky, at the stars that held countless worlds and species. That was always the point. Not obliteration, not revenge, justice, yes, but justice combined with hope. Because that is what humanity is. We are the species that climbed down from the trees on a death world and reached for the stars. We are the people who faced extinction 100 times and chose to survive. And now, we are the ones who will help others survive too. Zix clicked his mandibles again. "The galaxy thought it knew what Deathworlders were. You taught us we were wrong. You are not more dangerous because you are good at killing. You are more dangerous because you are good at surviving. And you refuse to survive alone." In the years that followed, the Human-Velcrin Alliance became a model for interspecies cooperation. The story of how humanity had responded to an attempted genocide, not with extermination but with rehabilitation, became taught in schools across the galaxy. New species that joined the galactic community learned that humans were to be respected, not feared. Dangerous when threatened, yes, but also capable of extraordinary compassion. The names of the 5,000 were carved on a memorial on Earth. Humans visiting the memorial often brought the names of Velcrin who had died in the war as well, recognizing that all innocent deaths were worth remembering. It was not about who won or lost. It was about making sure such a tragedy never happened again. And on a colony world where 2 species lived together, children played without knowing their grandparents had been enemies. They grew up learning that strength without wisdom is brutality, but wisdom without strength is vulnerability. They learned that the best warriors are those who know when to fight and when to build. They learned what it meant to be Deathworlders, not monsters, not victims, but survivors who refused to survive alone, who carried their dead in their hearts but built for the living with their hands. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not fear, not conquest, but the understanding that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to know when to show mercy. And the galaxy was better for it.